There's what's called kashf, which is not, that's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will unveil to somebody, and that's a different thing. Allah can unveil to somebody, and oftentimes a kashf will occur, and the person who the kashf is occurring to might not be aware that, but the other person will know that they're speaking to their heart. And so Allah has done that for you to learn something or benefit from it. So that's something, that's from Allah. Uthman Danfodio could smell sins, because every sin has a particular scent. That's why angels hate stench, right? And we know that the body, when it corrupts, it stinks. A healthy body smells good. The best smelling bodies are babies' bodies because they're sinless. Even the meconium stool doesn't smell bad. The stool of a newborn that's still drinking milk doesn't smell bad. There's nothing to do that. No food, no. So sins have a stench, and the angels can smell them. In that way they know the sinfulness. They don't like to be with sinful people. But Uthman Danfodio, that was one of his karamat, is that he could smell the stench of certain. And that's a kashf, just Sayyidina Uthman, in the sound tradition on Uthman, a man walked in and he said, the man had been looking at some woman lustfully, and he came into the majlis, and Uthman said, do people come into my majlis, their eyes are filled with fornication? And the man said, "Awahyun ba'da Rasulillah, is this revelation after the Prophet?" And he said, "Ittaqu firasat al-mu'min, فَإِنَّهُ يَنظُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ." Guard yourself against the intuition of a believer, because they can look with the sight of God. In other words, God can illuminate something. And that's different. That's a kashf, and that does happen. In light of what you said about the eye, corruption of the heart, if one has a history of glancing at what he should not, what can he do to restore the heart and the inner eye? Well, that's what this book is really about. So we're going to be, that's the topic of, I know somebody, one of the worst things that you can do, and this is for the males here, because it's far more a male problem, but one of the worst things that you can do is view pornographic material. That will really, really affect you in a very, very negative way. And I met somebody who had become Muslim, and he had looked at a lot of material, and he was having a problem in his prayer because he would close his eyes, and he just said all these images would just pop up. And that's one of the things about the prayer, is that often, if you do if you've done something sinful or something, and you do the prayer, that it will come, because that's a sign, to you that your heart's, you need to work on your heart. So polishing the heart is dhikr. One of the things that our ulama say is that Ibn al-Banna mentions this, Saraqosti, that to treat the diseases of the heart is easier than treating the diseases of the body. So bushra, that's good news for all of us, that it's harder to cure a disease that you've acquired in your body than it is to cure a disease of the heart. And diseases of the heart can be obliterated with tawbah. Allah can do that. And you have to believe in the qudra of Allah. No matter what you've done, it can be removed permanently, forever. You mentioned no one. Okay, so I think that's it. Is there any other? If shaitan does not know what one is thinking, how does his waswasa so closely match what thoughts pass through your head? Well, waswasa is, there's different khawatir, and this is a science of distinguishing the thoughts. You have khawatir malakani, khawatir rabbani, malakani, shaitani, and nafsani. And each one of them has specific qualities. So the rabbani thoughts are pious, they're pure thoughts, and they usually compel you to, in fact, they're so powerful that you end up having to do a thing. So a khatar rabbani comes and it will almost force you to do something. And sometimes you might not even want to do it. I could give you an example in my life. But it's always good to do it, because the khatar rabbani is always good. But it might be hard on the nafs. And then you have the malakani, which is an angelic thought, which is also pure, and it's not as powerful as the rabbani. So it will come, like it'll tell you to do something that's good, like give charity, but you won't feel compelled. It'll be like an impulse that comes into your heart. And then the nafsani and the shaitani are different. The shaitani the nafsani is compulsive. It's the same thoughts. They're compulsive. The shaitani is different. Like he tries this, and if that doesn't work, he tries that, and if that doesn't work. So the nafsani is, and all of these khawatir can be purified and removed. But it takes a lot of practice. And this is not something that's exclusive to the Muslims, by the way. Monks do this work as well. Buddhists do this work. Buddhists have a whole science of getting rid of what they call monkey mind. Right? The Hindus also understand this. I mean, many religious traditions understand that because thoughts are generated and they just keep coming and flowing, and some are positive, some are negative. But you can learn to enter into a state of pure reflection, and that's tafakkur. And that's when mir'at al-qalb, the mirror of the heart, becomes clear. And that's what... so the inner eye it can see, because you've been polishing, like the cataract removal of the eye. That's what needs to be done with the inner eye, or it's got too much pressure. You know what they use for intraocular pressure in ophthalmology? Ahmed shunt. That's what it's called in Western medicine. Is there any ophthalmologists here? No? Do any of the doctors, do you know about Ahmed shunt? You ask any ophthalmologist in the West, to relieve the pressure of the intraocular pressure, the shunt that they use is called Ahmed's shunt. It was invented by a doctor named Ahmed. They didn't name it after the Prophet, but Allah did.